Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Growing with TJ. We are finally outside in the garden. The Arctic air that we've had for the past month and a half has finally gone away, and it's 40 degrees right now. And it looks like we have a little bit of a warming trend above average for this time of year. So we're going to have some 40s, some 50s. We'll still have cool nights, some colder days, but it's a sign that spring is on its way, and I'm super excited for it. We actually have snow on the ground still, which is very rare for our area. If it snows, it usually lasts about 3 days and then it's gone. So it's cool to have some snow on the ground, a cold winter. It kind of felt like a real winter for once. But we are outside here, and I am going to prune my Reliance Peach tree. As you can see, it is rather out of control. This tree is about 4 years old. Last year was the first year that I got a bumper crop from it. Some really good peaches. But I'm going to try to prune this to the best of my ability. I am not an expert by any sense of the imagination. I've done a lot of research. I've watched videos, read up on how the best way to prune peach trees are, and I'm going to give it a shot. So I have a general idea, but at this point, the only way I can learn any more is by actually doing it myself. So I'll show you what I'm looking for, what I'm cutting off, and you're going to see some drastic cuts because you can see the height of the tree. It's just getting too high. I don't want it to be that high, so I'll be cutting them off pretty drastically, and it's going to be hard for me to do so, but I think in the end it is best for the tree and for the quality of the peaches. So let's get into it and start pruning this peach tree. All right, so let's get a look at this tree. One thing you're going to look for is branches that are going on a 45-degree angle, in that range. That way it's going to keep the tree low. It's also going to keep the center of it open. To the best of your ability, you're going to have the center open so that you get good airflow and good sunlight coming down from the top. So anything that you see if I can get in here, like this guy right here, it's growing straight up in the center. It's going to continue to grow. You're going to cut them out for any branches that are growing towards the center of the tree. I'm also going to be cutting off some of these ones way up high here because I don't want my tree getting 15 feet tall. I don't want to get a ladder to pick my peaches. Also, that's going to block off the sun when the leaves are on it, and that is not what we want. So I'm going to do some cuts here. Another thing I'm going to do is some of these lower branches, I don't really want them to be that low to the ground. That's not ideal. Also, obviously, any animals can come and grab them fairly easily. So I'll make some cuts here and I'll kind of explain why I cut it, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the tree. All right, so let's start making some cuts. You can see this one. I know it's kind of tough to see, but that is growing straight up the center of the tree. So we want to get that one out of here. One thing I wanted to mention before I make cuts is make sure you're cleaning your pruners or your loppers, whatever you're using to prune the tree, with alcohol or Lysol, something that can kill any type of disease that's on there. That's especially important if you are going from tree to tree. You don't want to be passing it on to each tree. So I'll come in here and we'll make this cut right there. See what else we got going on here. Anything that is growing towards the center, I will get rid of. So all these, get that with the smaller ones right here. That's going right in the center. Get rid of that one. Get my smaller pruners. Get rid of that. You see anything that's going in the center. And now I am going to make a cut on this guy, but I want to think about that before I go. I think I'm going to cut it pretty low. Just get rid of this entire straight up branch. All right, so this next cut is going to be pretty drastic, but you can see this branch here. It's a nice looking branch, very healthy, vigorous, but it is growing literally straight up. It's just going to block all the sun. So I'm hoping I can get it with with these loppers, but I'm thinking I might have to get the saw out. So let's try. There we go. That was tough. Let me pull that out so you can get a better look at it. That's a pretty big branch that I just cut off. You can see how it just opened. Just from that one cut, the top is open very, very, very much. So I think it's a good cut. Let me come around here. Another cut I am going to probably make is this one right here. It's kind of growing towards the center. It's growing straight up, so we don't want that. Let me get rid of that one. And please remember, I am not an expert, so I'm not claiming to know exactly what I'm doing. But from what I've learned and read about, I am making decisions off of that. Okay. And the best way for you to learn is to actually by doing it. So at this point, I got to do it and kind of learn and keep doing it. And eventually I will get good at pruning trees. All right. Try to get you in a little bit closer, see how that goes. But see, this guy's growing. I can get it on the camera straight up in the center. That guy's growing into that branch over there. This one right here, kind of growing in the center and towards the other ones. So I don't like that. This as well. Now you can see this one growing straight to the center. Get rid of that. This one right here is growing, see that? Growing down towards the ground, so there's no need to have that one growing. Cut that one off. These guys right here, kind of growing towards the center. Get rid of that. Now I got to make a decision with this one right here because of how tall it's getting. I don't really prefer that. I don't think I'll cut the whole thing down, but I will limit it so that, maybe it's just this branch. It's going up towards the sky, so that's not ideal, but maybe I will leave that for this year and then bring it back more next year. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these really low branches, almost touching the ground. That one I might keep just because it is heading in a 45-degree angle, so that might end up being okay. The only problem with that is we got that one and that one, so they're going to kind of cross paths, and eventually they're going to run into each other. So I'll have to think about that. Again, I'm just using my best judgment because I don't have a lot of experience. Now this is kind of interesting here. You can see, hopefully you can see that. That looks like that's diseased, I think. I don't know if you can see that very well. Let's try to get in there a little better. You can see it's messed up. I think that might be diseased, and I think that might need to go. All right, I made a bunch of cuts. I just want to show you what it looks like now. See, the center is kind of opening up. I still got this big one over here that I'm not decided what to do with. I'm also curious if I should keep this one right here because it is growing at the end on a 45, so that's kind of a good angle. It is just low, which isn't ideal. I'm going to have to trim up in here. You can see got a bunch that are crossing that you don't really want. And if they're not pencil size, that's okay. But right here, how thin it is, you don't really need that. That's not going to be able to support all these little guys in here. You don't need to keep them, from my understanding, like that. This is more of a pencil-like. Pencil-like right there is pretty good. If I just keep going around the tree, like I like this one a lot. That's grown well. This is growing in a good area too. However, they're very close to each other, so maybe I'll get rid of some of the inside ones to clean that up. And then obviously you can see we got this one right here that's going to be growing into this one where I want to keep, so we'll get rid of that. Let me make a couple more cuts, and then I'll show you what it is looking like. Cut a bunch off, and like I said, I am not an expert. I'm very novice when it comes to pruning peach trees, or any fruit tree for that matter, so I took what I've read, researched, and tried to apply it into pruning my tree. So you can see, like, the center is very open. I have nothing growing towards the center or up the middle of the center. It's all going outside, somewhat on a 45-degree angle. Let me back up a little bit. Sorry for the snow. I really cut the height of the tree down. I did leave some of these, which that might not be smart. But it's really hard to prune a tree because you're thinking you're pruning a bunch of peaches off that you're not going to get. And you also don't want to make any mistakes. Now, I can promise you I've made a lot of mistakes while pruning this. If you saw before and after of this, it's a drastic change for the peach tree. But in the long run, it is better for the quality of the peaches and the quality of your peach tree. So it looks a lot different. You can see most of them are going on the 45-degree angle as much as I could. I topped it. You don't see any of these big ones way up here now. And I think I'm happy with it. I will come back, when I come to harvest my peaches, which will be about the end of July. And I will show you guys if I got a good peach harvest or if I did not. So again, you gotta try, and the experience you get is what's going to make you a better gardener, a better pruner. So you just got to get out there and try it and do your best. And we'll see how this peach tree ends up come July. But they want to grow, so they will continue to grow. And even if you make mistakes, the tree will come back and you'll keep getting peaches. All right, guys. So now that I have it all pruned, I am going to spray it with the copper fungicide. Now, last year when it was dormant in the wintertime, time got away from me and I didn't get to spray it. And I did end up with a curled leaf disease. So it's important to spray your trees when it's dormant. If you don't like copper fungicide, that's fine. Use whatever you'd like. I'm just going to be using this little tiny pump sprayer because I forgot my big sprayer. And also I'm not doing a lot of spraying. It's just going to be this tree. So I believe it's about 2 tablespoons per ounce, or per gallon, I'm sorry. So right here I have half a gallon. So let's fill my little tablespoon up. So I'll do 1 tablespoon with a little bit extra. Okay. Then I will put my sprayer back on and make sure you shake it up real well. And I'm just going to try and get a good cover of this whole tree. This isn't ideal, this size, but again, I forgot my big sprayer. Also don't want to get it in my eyes or anything, so I'll put my sunglasses on. Let me pump it up quick. Again, a sprayer with a longer wand would definitely be better. But I'm really going to soak it in. I'm going to use this whole half gallon on this tree. I see it dripping, so that is good. Another thing I want to mention is Really, a good 24 hours is best without rain after you spray. That's going to ensure that it got on the tree and it soaked in. Today we're going to have some rain snow later this evening, so it's not an ideal time to do it. Like I said, last year I forgot, so I wanted to make sure I got it on this year. And if you 1 to 2 hours after, you might have good enough coverage spread that it'll do its job. But maybe really late winter, end of winter, maybe I'll come back and give it another spray just to be sure.
Let's take a little closer look at the finished product. I didn't do a good job showing that. You can see all the branches are heading out towards the side. I got nothing coming into the middle or growing up into the middle, nothing crossing. I really cut down on the height. Down here in the bottom right, you're going to see that branch is kind of going towards the ground and sloping up. That should probably be taken care of. I don't really like that too much. So maybe I will prune that off. But overall, I like what I see. Now on this side here, you can see on the left, I have way more branches than the right. The one I'm zooming in on right now, I kind of butchered that a little bit. I think I could have done a lot better of a job, but that's okay. Like I said, I am just still learning. Overall, I think I did a fairly good job, and I kind of got the shape that I'm looking for more so than I did before I pruned. So that is the main point, and we'll continue to work on the pruning and trying to get this tree looking like it should.
All right, guys, so there you have it. I sprayed my tree. Just to recap, I am very new to pruning peach trees, so I took what I learned from the internet, videos from reading, and I tried to apply it out here today and do the best of my ability to prune my peach tree the correct way. Now, maybe I did a good job, maybe I didn't, time will tell, but either way, you can see I brought the height way down. The center is wide open. There's no branches growing in the middle of it. None growing straight up. They're all growing out like that. I got some nice 45-degree angled branches, and they're all kind of going like that. So I think I did a pretty good job for never really pruning a fruit tree before. You can see I cut off a bunch of it, which I had to do because the height was getting too high. So I needed to do some drastic cuts to try and get it under control. So overall, I think it looks pretty good. Um, Again, time will tell. I'll bring you back here throughout the spring and summer to show you how the peach tree is growing. And then in end of July, I'll show you how many peaches I get from the tree this year. It's hard to make a lot of cuts because you're worried you're not going to get enough peaches. But in the end, your tree is always going to produce a ton of peaches and you're going to have to thin some out anyways. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is hard to cut off a bunch of branches where there's going to be peaches. But the best way to learn is by doing it and gaining experience. You might fail, but you'll learn from it. So I came out here today. I did my best with the knowledge that I have, and I pruned my peach tree. So we'll see how that goes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I appreciate you watching. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Keep on growing.